It's knowing that your door is always open and your path is free to walk. That makes me tend to leave my sleeping bag rolled up and stashed behind your couch. And it's knowing I'm not shackled by forgotten words and bones and the ink stains that are dried upon some line. That keeps you in the back roads by the rivers of my memory and keeps you ever gentle on my mind. How's it going, everybody? Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you had a good weekend. It's Monday. Let's go. I've always loved this song, Gentle on My Mind, and I finally, I don't even remember the first time I heard it, but it was years ago, and you know, there's so many different versions of it, but for some reason it crept across my radar the other day when I was thinking about music, and I pulled up the original John Hartford version from 1967. God, what a lyric. What a song. It's so good. I just told myself I've got to sit down and learn this song. So that's what I'm doing this week. I'm giving myself some homework to try and learn this whole song so I can play it. On the original version, there are two unbelievable acoustic guitar parts. One sounds like a fretted resonator, which is kind of playing the main line. And then there's another rolling part that sounds like it's like this incredible dissonant tuning, and it hints at this flat 7 move. At the end of the verse phrases. And I was like, who the hell is playing that part? Because it does these amazing that's the easy way to get to it to my ear, but I'm going to sit down and really figure out what it is. And I was like, who is playing that part? And I tried to look it up online, and I didn't really have any luck. And so I sent Jeff Hanna a message, who's a good mate of mine from the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and because I thought he might know, and he said he didn't know, but he was like, Sam Bush would know. So he asked Sam, and I'm just waiting to figure out if maybe they know who this session guy was. I guess it was a session guy that played this incredible part. Anyway, all that's to say is check out the original John Hartford version of Gentle on My Mind. It's from 1967. There's no solos. It's just this incredible vocal, these two guitar parts, and this groovy drum part that happens, drum and bass. It's just mesmerizing. So good. So that's my homework for the week. And what else is going on? We got snowed out on Friday, so I'm going to go back to the studio. I'm working with an artist called Britt Taylor tomorrow to finish her record, which is a really amazing band. Stuart Duncan's playing fiddle, and I haven't worked with Stuart in years. Man, what a mighty man. One of the greatest. And then I got a bunch of lessons to do this week, which I'm excited about, Wednesday and Friday. And then I need to eat at some point. And then what else is going on? whatever, crazy stuff. But I wanted to answer a couple questions because there's a few starting to pile up, and so I've got one here from Spacetime Cheese, great name. Hey man, did you find, as I did, that growing up in Australia in the 90s, there was a real chasm between the music that was popular here and the rest of the world? I grew up in a medium-sized city and found there were very few pathways to discover the wide world of music other than by sheer chance meetings with strangers. How did you discover the need to go to Nashville and try to hit the big time rather than, say, go to Melbourne and start there? So glad that you found what looks like such a rich and rewarding life over there. Thanks, man. Australia is much the poorer for missing you. Well, yeah, man, I miss Australia. I miss the people. That's an interesting thing to talk about to me because, first of all, I grew up in a tiny country town called Quorn. It was population about 850 in the 90s. And it was really hard to find music that I was interested in. It was hard to find the music that was talked about in the few guitar magazines I could find from here and there. I will say the most important part of my success for staying inspired and for even getting a shot at finding things I was halfway interested in was because I had parents who really gave a shit and they really knew that I was passionate about music right from when I was really young. And, thank God I had these incredible parents that really cared enough to, to help me seek out music and, seek out these things that I was interested in. I'll never forget one Christmas, under the Christmas tree, there was a wrapped CD of Danny Gatton and Joe DiFrancesco, Relentless, that record. I didn't understand half of what I was listening to, but I knew it was unbelievable. And, it was because I had parents that really listened and helped me. And, they would buy me CDs. They would find these mail order CDs and these magazines. They were just so supportive. I was very lucky. So that's number one. Number two, my fascination with America started really pretty young because the records where I was hearing like Telecasters and these great country songs, I figured out were all being made and recorded in Nashville. So I just figured that's where that's where it was all happening. So I set my sights on coming here probably when I was about 10 or 11 years old. And then the reason for me leaving Australia pretty young, because I came over here when I was 18 to go to college. I went to college in West Texas. Was because I quit high school when I was 16. I went on the road with a country performer called Tanya Kernigan, this Aussie touring country artist. And we toured around a lot of Australia, and I got to see a lot of it pretty quickly. Like by the time I was 17 and a half, I'd been on the road a year and a half, and I'd seen a lot of Australia, and I got to play a lot of the places you could even play, all the major cities, other than Perth and Darwin. I don't think we ever made it to Darwin. But I got to see a lot of it, and I just thought, well, I saved all my touring money, and I, again, had supportive parents who let me, quit high school because they knew I wanted to play music and go on the road, save my money. Came to America when I was 18, and I just never looked back. So there you go. Maybe that hits all the points. Oh, I will say one more thing about that, discovering music in Australia or discovering music in an isolated area, as it was in the 90s, early 90s, mid 90s. When you found something that you had heard about, read about, it was like finding gold. It was like precious. And I feel like I listened so intently, and I took that music in because it just meant so much to me, maybe I digested what I was finding in a more intense kind of way, because it was so special. Like, I'll never forget seeing when I moved to Tamworth, which was a slightly bigger town when I was a kid. I went to somebody's house one day, and they had a record of Luxury Liner, Emmylou Harris, in a record collection. And I'd read about Luxury Liner for years. I'd never actually heard it or been able to find it. And I just remember the first time I put it on, and hearing the kickoff and hearing Albert Lee solo, I was just like mind blown. So it was a special time, and half the stuff I couldn't ever figure out. I just hadn't really developed an ear yet, but I could figure out enough to figure out my own way to play things, and they weren't exactly like the originals. But I think that's part of too why I started to develop an ear and to develop my own style, because nothing was ever easy to learn, if that makes sense. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. We can get into that some other day. Here's another question from Yuri Koch Guitar. Jedd, can you talk about using a guitar amp for acoustic guitar? How do you achieve a good tone on an acoustic using tube amps? ? Do you split your signal to send directly to the PA? Thanks. All right, great question. I do want to, when I'm at home here playing, I mix the sound for the room as I'm playing, and it usually ends up being about 70-30. 70% what I'm getting directly from the guitar into the microphone of the camera, and 30% of what's coming from the amp. I'm just kind of creating decay and sustain with the amp sound, if that makes sense. Extra on top of what's happening. I do like the natural sound of the acoustic as much as possible. I do want to, when I'm playing live, I don't use an amp. I've just been using a little bit of reverb in my setup, and sending directly to the PA through the Grace Felix preamp. I hope that answers your question. I do want to get into using an amp though, because I would like to start hearing the acoustic come from behind me more when I'm singing, so I can get a little more focused vocal sound in front of me and the guitar coming from behind me, because I feel like that might help me make the connection live a little more, if that makes sense. Another question here, Mark Terrence McKenna. Please expand on the booger eaten sound. I don't know what it is, but I recognized it the second you said it. Booger eaten. I hadn't heard the expression until I moved to America about that. and I don't remember the first time I heard it, but booger eating is like that real hillbilly thing. I don't really know how to describe it. It's like a simplistic approach to what you're doing. Like, you know, like maybe the Don Rich guitar sound and approach is a good place to start for that, because it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, or booger in mouth, which would be, you know, pick back by the bridge. There's a great one where he tunes his E down to D. I don't know, booger eating, it's just like that 60s great country, casual, nonchalant country guitar. It's like, I don't know, it's cheeky, you know, like it's... I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it. I guess I know how to do it in the moment, but I don't know if that helps. Start with Don Rich. That's what I would do. One more question, because I know this video is getting kind of long. Can't wait to hear the new record. Thank you. I'd love to hear you go deep on songwriting, the seed of the idea, how the lyrics start, and the revision process. Okay? Any pitfalls along the way to avoid, whether meanings change and you just go with it, or do you defend the original inspiration? That's a good thing to talk about. I have so many questions. That's from G Barge 4. Okay, well, I will say there's a couple things I've learned. I'll tell you 2 things I've learned that I feel like are pretty important from Rodney Crowell along the way about songwriting. One is you must always be prepared to discard even what you think your best line is, if it's holding you back and keeping you from finishing the song. Nothing's precious. The point is to write the song and tell the story. So if you think you got something great but you can't finish the song, you gotta discard it. That's one thing to think about. Another thing is one thing Rodney told me years ago that's always in the back of my mind. If you try to write to everybody, you'll only get a small group of people. If you try to write to one person in front of you, you'll reach so many more. Think about that. I've thought about that for 20 years. So true. Song seeds you mentioned, which I love. I'm always collecting song seeds, whether it be something interesting that somebody says, or just words that I like the sound of. Yeah, I've always got my antenna up for song stuff. Any pitfalls along the way to avoid? Not really, you know, just you just gotta do it, and you gotta keep doing it, and then you gotta keep doing it more and more and more. Songwriting is probably like anything else in life. The more you do it, the better you get at it, you know. The more you analyze great songs, like Gentle on My Mind, I mean, these lyrics are so brilliant. Like the fact he got, I dipped my cup of soup back from a gurgling, crackling cauldron in some train yard. Like, that is so good. So, you know, analyze great songs, learn great songs, sit down, learn great songs. And when you're writing, you know, try to write the best song you can and get the song written and then move on to the next one. And also, I was going to say one more thing about that. Shit, I can't remember. Anyway, there you go. Here's a nice D minor, or I like that one. Hope you guys are great. This might be the longest video I've ever made. Sorry if it's boring, but I hope you're all doing good, and thanks for the nice comments, and I'll see you soon.